To be honest, it hasn't exactly been a great week. I've tried making this video a few times this week, and I haven't been able to, mostly because the topic sucks. It's a little chilly out. I'm out before 6 a.m. Woke up at 4, thinking about coming out here and filming this, as opposed to sitting down in my house. You'll see why in a minute. So here's the thing. A really great friend of mine, Sean Roberson, has passed away, and I learned about it this past weekend. Made it rather difficult to do anything, to be honest with you. So I'm going to try and go chronologically, because otherwise I just kind of lose the thread of it. By the way, this COVID situation with my hair has started to get out of hand. So Sean Roberson, God, where to start? You ever have a really good friend? Sean Roberson and I were friends from 1982 to 2002, and for a great deal of that, he was probably my best friend in the world. We met in high school, and in high school we were just kind of friends, and then after high school, all of the group that I was a part of, we all just kind of fractured, splintered off in our own directions. Sean Roberson and I didn't. We actually became closer as a result, and so most of our friendship came about as being young adults. And he was a great pal to have. So, what happened in 2002 to end said friendship? Well, it doesn't take much. Sadly, as you get older, you realize just how fragile a thing like a friendship is. And he was in poor health. And I told him he needed to get in better shape. He needed to take better care of himself. He had diabetes. He was drinking a lot. So I told him to take better care of himself, and he told me to pound sand. And then I never heard from him again. Tried emailing, tried calling, nothing. And that was 2002. In 2 years, my life would change utterly with the entrance of Vicky. So Sean Roberson didn't get to meet Vicky, unfortunately. He was the best man at my first wedding, however. And he did a fantastic job, let me tell you. So, I found out at the end of the week last week. And I just didn't know what to do. I just really couldn't handle it. So I thought, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to get it all out. I'm going to work it all out of my system. So I sat down in front of this camera in my living room. And man, my hair is just all over the place, isn't it? Hi. That's all I care about. I sat down with a bottle of Bushmills, because Sean was half Native American, half Irish. And I talked. We're driving north on the 405 freeway. This is when he lived in Carlsbad. We're going up to Orange County, back to where I live. And I'm driving 90 Nissan Sentra. I don't know what year it was, but it was a really shitty car. And we're driving on the freeway, and Sean Roberson is so big that the car is at this kind of a tilt. I'm driving on this end, he's over here. And the engine is straining so loud that I don't hear the sirens behind me as the police try to pull me over. So we pull over on the side of the 405 freeway. Actually, at that point, it's the 5. And the cop comes up. And the first thing he starts in on is, "What's wrong with your car?" And then he looks over and sees that Sean Roberson is not wearing his seatbelt. And Sean Roberson, at that moment, says, I know, I'll take responsibility for it." And he gets out of the car. And yeah, that was Sean Roberson. He really was something else. And I was really fortunate to have him as my friend. And I remembered, let's get back to the 80s, because Sean Roberson was my first best man. He was the best man at my first wedding. It was a strange situation. My first wife and I eloped up to Washington. On one of my road trip videos, if you scroll down, I stop by at the church and I tell you all about that. But just for the sake of telling it, I was married up in Falls City, Washington. And because we eloped, we took the train up. Nobody else was there, but my dad and my dad's family were up there. My dad planned the wedding, paid for everything, did everything. It was amazing. And Sean Roberson flew up. So if you can imagine, my first wife and I pull into Seattle the day before the rehearsal. Say it was like Thursday, rehearsal was Friday, the wedding was Saturday. On Friday, my best man, Rob, the guy who was supposed to be my best man, he still hadn't shown. Rob was habitually late. He still hadn't shown. Sean Roberson flies in Friday night, comes into the SeaTac airport, drunk as a skunk, telling me about how if you really want to fly right, it's the only way to fly. And I drank. Okay, so I knew I wouldn't be ready for this. So let's just skip to the drinking, shall we? This is a glass of ice. This is about half a bottle of Bushmills. And you and I are going to drink this in the memory of one of the finest gentlemen, one of the true individuals, one of the nicest guys I've ever known. Sean Roberson was, tell you what, let's pour the booze. I'm having a hard time talking. So if I drink a little, that should just pour away. Now you'll see that this is mostly ice. I like my whiskey with rocks. It's probably more appropriate if I drink it without rocks, but the hell with all of you. Oh yeah, that's Bushmills. So. And I drank. And he lived in Westminster. I lived in Santa Ana, and I would take my bike and ride down. He lived in a trailer park, and we would play D&D, and we would order the shittiest pizza possible because we were broke, and we would have a great time, and we would smoke way too much, and we would, yes, drink way too much. And I drank. But I don't want to skip ahead. I also I'm also out of whiskey. There's no way I'm finishing this bottle. But I'm drinking as much of it as seems reasonable at this moment. So, and I drank. Sean Roberson and I were friends through the 90s. And I was married, of course. because he was my best man. And right around the end of the 90s, the marriage started to fall apart. It's a longer story than that, but I'm not going to get into it. And Sean Roberson was there for me, stepped up just as always. And I got my own place, I moved in my own place. He would come by and we would sit and pound whiskey like nobody's business. He was a fantastic drinker. He was one of the few people who, and I'm not saying this to brag, but he was one of the few people who drank as much as I did. My other friend Tim did also, but he became an alcoholic. And actually, that's how my friendship with Sean ended. Because Sean developed diabetes. And he just didn't take care of himself. So, from 2000 to 2001 and 2002, he got worse and worse. And the last time I saw him, I had driven down to his home in Roberson Canyon, which is down in the San Diego area. So I go into his house and I see him, and he's wearing shorts. And the reason he's wearing shorts is because his legs are dripping fluid. That's what happens when your diabetes gets really bad. And it was really bad. And he was drinking. And he was eating really bad food. And I felt terrible. I felt awful. And I told him, you've got to stop this. It's really bad for you. You've got to control yourself. You're going to lose your feet. Well, that didn't go over well. And there were a lot of accusations thrown. And I left. And we never spoke again. And I tried calling, I tried emailing, and unfortunately, I never heard back. And one of the things about that much time passing is you start to think about all the things that you did. I mean, I'm by no means the best friend in the world. I've been told by my friends that I can be, And I drank. Ari is much later and I'm much drunker. So, let me just take me off the screen. We'll just use my voice. So, this is an early memory I have of Sean Roberson that I couldn't remember without a whole lot of whiskey. So it's about 1983, winter, Big Bear. We're in the snow, Tim, Sean Roberson, myself, and Tim's smart enough not to listen to me, and I convinced Sean Roberson to climb the mountain. And we start heading up, and it's snowbank, snowbank, snowbank. We're just fighting our way through the snow. Up, 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 up. Every time we crest a ridge, we crest another lump of snow. Everything we crest it could be the top of the mountain. And I yelled down to Sean Roberson because I'm in the front. There's no way he's in the front. He's way back there saying, "Are you kidding me?" And I yell back and I say, "We're almost at the top. We're almost at the top." And we didn't get to the top. He actually turned around about halfway, and I finally got to the top. But by God, man, he was quite a guy. But I had to get that out of my system. I had to work it out. I didn't know how. I couldn't talk to Sean for obvious reasons. I know this whole today has been kind of a downer, but that's kind of how my week's been. I haven't worked. I haven't done anything. I've just been in this constant state of being kicked in the gut. and not understanding why, because Sean and I haven't really been friends for 18 years. But you know what? I guess it doesn't really matter. I guess when someone's that important to you, doesn't matter how much distance you have away from that person, when they die, well, I guess a part of you does too. And sadly, when you get up to a certain age, I hate to tell you, but people start dropping off. Last year, I lost the girl who was my high school crush. This year, I'm losing the guy who was the best man at my first wedding. The guy who I scaled a mountain with. The guy who, we didn't do anything. Okay, well, we did a few things that were kind of crazy, but for most of our friendship, it was just that mundane daily shit of being buddies, of being friends. And I'm gonna miss him as I've been missing him for 18 years. And I'm gonna wish that I could give him all of my news like I've been wishing for the last 18 years. And I'm sure that when I lose other friends, I'm gonna think the same thing. And I'm gonna be punched in the gut just the same way, if not worse. So that's your happy bit of news today.
And there you have it. You've just survived another Ken LaSalle video. For more information about new releases, projects in the works, or even stuff from the archives, head on down to kenlasalle.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and all around social media, just as long as it's called Facebook or Twitter. Thanks for your support, as always. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll be back soon with more nonsense.
To be honest, is Monday mornings. And it's really funny that it's Monday mornings, isn't it? It's almost like a show meant for Monday mornings. So To Be Honest is going to end after episode 25. I'll still be here. You'll still see me. I'll see you later. Yeah, I'm going to finish the class. Of course I'm going to finish the class, but you go on ahead. I have a lot of drinking to do.